Admiral Kim Tae-ho was drinking his morning coffee when the alarms started screaming. The hot liquid spilled across his uniform as he jumped up from his desk. Red lights flashed everywhere in the command center of Earth's main defense station. "Sir," shouted Lieutenant Choi Hana from her post. "We have multiple contacts coming out of hyperspace. Edge of the solar system near Jupiter's orbit." Tae-ho ran to the main display screen. What he saw made his blood turn cold. Hundreds of ships were appearing out of nowhere. Each one was massive, bigger than anything humans had ever built. They looked like floating cities made of dark metal and strange lights. "How many?" Tae-ho asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "Still counting, sir. 200, 250, 300 ships total." Hana's voice was shaking. "Sir, these things are huge. Each one is at least 10 times bigger than our largest battleship." Dr. Park So-jin rushed into the command center. She was the top expert on alien life, though until today that had been just theory.
"What do we know about them?"
she asked, pushing her glasses up her nose. "They're just sitting there," reported Captain Lee Dong-min from his ship, the Soul's Pride. His voice came through the speakers with a crackle of static. "No movement since they arrived." "But Admiral, these ships, I've never seen anything like them." Tae-ho stared at the screen. The alien fleet looked like a dark cloud hanging in space. Each ship had weird curves and angles that hurt to look at. Strange lights pulsed along their hulls in patterns that made no sense. "Any communications?" he asked. "Nothing yet, sir," Hana replied. "Wait, I'm getting something now." The speakers filled with a sound like grinding metal mixed with whale songs. Then slowly words began to form. The voice was deep and cold, speaking broken human language. "People of the third planet, you will listen. We are the Valerian Empire. We have come to claim this system. You have one rotation of your star to surrender. If you do not surrender, you will be destroyed. This is the only warning you will receive." The message repeated 3 times, then stopped. The command center fell silent except for the humming of computers and the sound of people breathing hard. "One day," So-jin whispered. "They're giving us one day." Tae-ho felt his hands shake. 300 massive warships against Earth's 50 small ones. It wasn't even a fair fight. It was like comparing wolves to sheep. "Get me President Rowe on the line," he ordered, "and contact all fleet commanders. We need to know what we're dealing with." Over the next few hours, reports came in from all over the solar system. The alien ships were spread out in a perfect formation. They weren't moving, weren't scanning, weren't doing anything except waiting. It was like they were so sure of winning that they didn't even need to prepare. So Jin worked with her team to study the alien ships. "Their technology is incredible," she told Tae-ho. "These energy readings are off the charts. Their weapons could probably destroy our biggest ships with one shot." "What about their defenses?" Tae-ho asked. "Strong. Very strong. Their shields are like nothing we've ever seen." "Admiral, I have to be honest with you. With normal weapons, we don't stand a chance," Captain Lee called in from his ship. "Admiral, I've got my crew running every battle plan we have. Nothing works. We're outnumbered 6 to 1, and their ships are 10 times more powerful. Even if we had perfect luck, we'd lose." Tae-ho walked to the big window that showed Earth spinning below. The blue and green planet looked so peaceful. Millions of people down there had no idea that aliens were sitting just outside their system, planning to destroy them. "Sir," Hana said quietly, "I've been listening to their communications. They're not even worried about us. They're talking about this like it's just another day at work. One of them called us another primitive species and complained about having to wait a whole day." "They think we're primitives?" Tae-ho asked. "Yes, sir. They've done this before. A lot. I heard them mention something about 200 other worlds they've conquered." So-jin looked up from her computer. 200 worlds? "Admiral, we might be looking at the most powerful military force in this part of the galaxy. They've been doing this for a very long time." Tae-ho thought about all the people on Earth. Families eating dinner, children playing, couples walking in parks, all of them depending on him to protect them from an enemy that had destroyed 200 other civilizations. "What do our secret projects look like?" he asked quietly. Commander Yoon Ji-woo had been standing in the corner silent until now. She was in charge of humanity's most secret weapons. "Project Deep Strike is ready, sir. All the theoretical weapons Dr. Nam and his team have been working on. We've never tested them in real combat, but they're not normal weapons," Tae-ho finished. "No, sir. They're very much not normal." Tae-ho looked around the room at all the faces staring at him. These people had families too. They were scared, but they were ready to fight. That was the thing about humans that maybe the aliens didn't understand. When pushed into a corner, humans didn't just lie down and die. They fought back with everything they had. "Send a message to all ships," he said. "Tell them to prepare for combat operations, and get me every scientist, engineer, and tactical officer we have. We have 20 hours to figure out how to beat an enemy that's never lost a war." Outside the window, Earth kept spinning. Soon it would either be free or it would be just another dead world in the Valerian Empire. But Tejo was starting to think that maybe, just maybe, these aliens had made one big mistake. They thought humans were primitive. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Commander Yoon Jiwoo walked through the secret levels deep under the defense station. These floors didn't exist on any official map. Most people in the military didn't even know they were there. This was where humanity kept its strangest and most dangerous projects. Dr. Nam Hyun-soo was waiting for her in Laboratory 7. The room was full of machines that hummed and glowed with soft blue light. Equations covered every wall, written in handwriting so small it looked like tiny insects crawling across white paint. "How long until Deep Strike is ready?" Jiwoo asked. Nam looked up from his computer. His hair was messy and his eyes were red from not sleeping. "The math checks out," he said. "The quantum tunneling drives work. The gravitic weapons should work. But Commander, we've never tested these things against real targets. Will they work or not?" Jiwoo asked. Nam rubbed his tired eyes. "In theory, yes. These weapons don't just damage ships. They change the laws of physics around the target. But if I'm wrong about even one equation—" "You're not wrong," Jiwoo said. "You're the smartest person I've ever met. If you say they'll work, they'll work." Meanwhile, General Kang Min-ho was meeting with his ground forces. Sergeant Oh Yu-jin sat at the table with the other special operations soldiers. They were the best fighters humanity had, trained to handle any situation. "If those alien ships get past our space defenses, they'll land troops on Earth," Kang explained. "We need to be ready for ground combat." Yu-jin raised her hand. "Sir, what if we don't let them land at all?" "What do you mean, Sergeant?" "Well, sir, they're just sitting out there, not moving. They think we're weak. What if we hit them before they expect it? What if we don't wait for them to attack us?" Kang thought about this. In every war simulation, humans waited for the enemy to come to them. But maybe that was the wrong way to think. Maybe humans needed to be the ones who attacked first. Up in space, Captain Lee Dong-min was getting his ship ready for battle. The Soul's Pride was the newest and strongest ship in the human fleet. But compared to the alien vessels, it looked like a toy boat next to a battleship. "Captain," his weapons officer called out, "we're getting some strange readings from those alien ships." "What kind of readings?" "They're scanning us, but it's not a deep scan. It's like they're just checking to see what kind of weapons we have. They're not looking very hard," Lee frowned. "They're not taking us seriously, no sir. It's like they already know they're going to win." Back at the defense station, Dr. Park So-jin was studying everything they had learned about the aliens. Lieutenant Choi Hana had managed to break into some of their basic communications, and what they found was disturbing. "Admiral," So-jin reported to Taiho, "these aliens have been conquering other species for thousands of years. They have a whole system for it. They show up, give a surrender deadline, then destroy anyone who fights back." "How many species have they destroyed?" Taiho asked. "From what we can tell, all of them. 200 worlds, and no one has ever beaten them. Not once." Hana looked up from her computer. "Sir, I've been listening to more of their communications. They're not even preparing for battle. One of them was complaining about having to wait a whole day before they can start bombing Earth. Another one was asking if they could finish this quickly because he has vacation time scheduled." Taiho felt anger rise in his chest. These aliens were talking about destroying his planet like it was just another day at the office. They were so sure they would win that they weren't even taking basic precautions. "What else?" he asked. "They keep calling us the primitives," Hana continued. "They think our technology is thousands of years behind theirs. They saw our fusion drives and basic energy weapons and decided we're not worth worrying about." "What didn't they see?" Taiho asked. So-jin smiled for the first time all day. "Everything that matters. They don't know about our quantum communication networks. They don't know about the experimental weapons. They think what they can see is all we have. Because that's how it works with every other species they've fought," Taiho realized. "Those species probably showed all their best weapons first, hoping to scare the aliens away." "Exactly. But we've been hiding our best technology for decades. They have no idea what humans are really capable of." Captain Bae Sung-hwan was in the hangar bay checking his stealth fighter. These ships were humanity's newest creation. invisible to normal sensors and able to move in ways that broke the usual rules of space combat. "How many fighters do we have ready?" Commander Yoon Ji-woo asked as she walked up to him. 50 stealth fighters, all equipped with the new weapons, Bay replied. "Ma'am, are we really going to try this? Flying right into the middle of their fleet?" "That's exactly what we're going to do," Ji-woo said. "They won't see us coming because they don't believe we have technology like this. By the time they realize what's happening, it'll be too late." Engineer Lim Da-un was in the weapons bay, making final checks on the gravitic weapons. These devices didn't shoot bullets or energy beams. Instead, they created tiny black holes that would eat through anything they touched. "The physics still seems impossible," her assistant said. "That's what makes them so dangerous," Da-un replied. "The aliens have never seen weapons like this because most species think they're impossible to build. But impossible and very difficult are two different things." Dr. Shin Woo-jin was working with the tactical computers. These artificial intelligence systems could think faster than any human brain, but they had never been tested in real combat. "The AI is running battle simulations," he told Tae-ho over the communication system. "It's found 17 different ways to attack the alien fleet. Some of them are so unusual that I'm not sure they'll work, but the math says they should." "Unusual how?" Tae-ho asked. "Well, in one plan we use the aliens' own formation against them. We make them think we're attacking from one direction, then hit them from 6 directions at once. In another plan, we turn their biggest ships into weapons against their smaller ships." As the hours passed, something strange was happening. The humans were getting more confident while the aliens just waited. The Valerians had done this so many times that they thought they knew exactly how it would go. They would wait for the deadline. The humans would either surrender or put up a weak fight, and then it would be over. But Admiral Kim Tae-ho was starting to smile. His people were scared, but they were also excited. They had weapons the aliens had never seen, tactics the aliens had never faced, and most importantly, they had something the aliens had forgotten after thousands of years of easy victories. They had the ability to surprise their enemies. "How much time left?" Tae-ho asked. 6 hours until the deadline, sir," Hana replied. "Good. That's enough time to show these aliens that humans are full of surprises." The deadline was 30 minutes away when the Valerian fleet finally began to move. Admiral Kim Tae-ho watched on the main screen as 300 alien warships started forming attack positions. They moved slowly, like they had all the time in the world. "They're not even hurrying," Lieutenant Choi Hana observed. "Look at those formations. They're textbook perfect, but they're taking forever to get into position." Dr. Shin Woo-jin's tactical computers were analyzing every move the aliens made. "Admiral, their formation is designed to overwhelm a weaker enemy through pure firepower, but it has weaknesses. Big ones." "Show me," Tae-ho said. The main screen changed to show a tactical display. Red dots represented the alien ships. Blue dots showed the human fleet. The alien formation looked like a giant hammer, designed to smash anything in front of it. But Shin's computers had found the gaps. "They're so confident that they're not protecting their flanks," Shin explained, "and their big ships can't turn quickly. If we can get inside their formation, they'll have trouble hitting us without hitting each other." Captain Lee Dongmin's voice came through the speakers from the Soul's Pride. "Admiral, they're powering up weapons. Energy readings are incredible. I think they could destroy our entire fleet with their first salvo." "If they can hit us," Tae-ho replied. "All ships prepare for deep strike protocol." In the secret hangar bay, Captain Bae Seung-hwan climbed into his stealth fighter. Around him, 49 other pilots were doing the same. These fighters were invisible to normal sensors, and they could travel through space in ways that broke every rule of physics that the aliens knew. "All fighters ready," Bae reported. "Quantum tunneling drives are charged and ready." Commander Yoon Ji-woo stood in the command center for deep strike. Banks of computers hummed around her, controlling weapons that existed only in theory until today. Engineer Lim Da-yoon was at her station, hands hovering over the controls for the gravitic weapons. "Gravitic weapons are online," Da-yoon reported. "Warning, Admiral. When we fire these, they're going to create some very strange effects. Space itself is going to bend around the targets." "Understood," Tae-ho replied. "Lieutenant Colonel Park Jae-sung, are the orbital platforms ready?" Park's voice came from the defense platforms hidden around Earth. "All platforms ready, sir. The aliens think we only have fixed weapons, but these platforms can move and reshape themselves. They're in for a surprise." The alien fleet was almost in position. On their flagship, Overlord Thexavan was reviewing reports from other conquests while his subordinates prepared for what they assumed would be a routine destruction of another primitive species. How much longer? Thexavan asked without looking up from his datapad. 15 minutes until weapons range, Overlord, his weapons master replied. The primitives have not responded to our ultimatum. Their small ships are taking defensive positions. Of course they are, Thexavan said with boredom. They always do. How long until we can begin orbital bombardment of their planet? Perhaps an hour, Overlord? Their ships will be destroyed quickly. Then we can begin harvesting operations. Thexavan nodded and went back to his reports. This was the 21st world his fleet had conquered. They all ended the same way. But Admiral Teho was about to show him that humans were different. All units, this is Admiral Kim Teho, he announced on all frequencies. Today, an alien empire that has destroyed 200 worlds thinks they can add Earth to their list. They think we're primitive. They think we're weak. They think they know how this fight will go because they've done it 200 times before. He paused, looking around the command center at all the faces watching him. They're wrong. Activate Deep Strike Protocol. Show them what humans do when someone threatens our home. What happened next broke every rule of space combat that the Valyrians knew. Captain Bay's stealth fighters simply appeared inside the alien formation. 1 second there was empty space between the alien ships. The next second 50 human fighters were there. Having used quantum tunneling to travel through dimensions the aliens didn't even know existed. What is this? Thexavan demanded as alarms started screaming on his ship. Where did those ships come from? Before his weapons master could answer, Engineer Lim Da-un fired the first gravitic weapon. The device didn't shoot energy or missiles. Instead, it created a tiny black hole right next to a Valyrian battleship. The black hole began eating the ship from the inside out, and there was nothing the aliens could do to stop it. Impossible, the Valyrian weapons master shouted. They're creating gravitational anomalies. That technology shouldn't exist. More gravitic weapons fired. Each one created another micro-black hole that consumed an alien ship. In 30 seconds, 20 Valyrian vessels were gone. Not destroyed, but actually eaten by tiny holes in space itself. Dr. Shin's tactical computers began their attack pattern. Instead of attacking the alien formation head-on, they coordinated strikes from 6 directions at once. The aliens had never faced an enemy that could think faster than they could react. Lieutenant Colonel Park's orbital platforms revealed their secret. The aliens thought they were simple weapon stations, but they were actually mobile fortresses that could change shape and position in real time. As the alien fleet tried to target them, the platforms transformed into configurations the aliens had never seen. All ships, retreat, Thexavan ordered, but it was too late. The human attack was happening too fast, using technology and tactics that the Valyrians couldn't understand. Captain Lee's conventional ships joined the battle, but they weren't fighting conventionally. Instead of trying to match the alien ship's firepower, they used speed and coordination. Shin's computers predicted where the alien ships would be, and the human ships were always somewhere else. In 7 minutes, 90 alien ships were destroyed. The mighty Valyrian formation was collapsing as ships tried to retreat or reposition, only to find human fighters appearing right next to them and gravitic weapons creating black holes in their hulls. How are they doing this? Thexavan screamed. These primitives don't have this technology. His tactical officer was staring at his displays in shock. Overlord, they're not fighting like any species we've ever encountered. They're using theoretical physics as weapons. They're making space itself fight for them. That's impossible. Yes, Overlord. But they're doing it anyway. Commander Yoon Ji-woo watched the tactical display with satisfaction. The alien fleet was in chaos. Ships were colliding with each other as they tried to escape weapons they couldn't understand. Some were firing at empty space where they thought human ships should be, while the real human ships attacked from impossible angles. Admiral, she reported to Teho. Phase 1 is complete. 90 enemy ships destroyed, 0 human casualties. They're trying to retreat. Don't let them, Teho ordered. These aliens have destroyed 200 worlds. Today that ends. The Valyrian Empire had been the dominant force in this part of the galaxy for thousands of years. They had never lost a battle, never faced a species that could challenge their technology, never even considered that they might be defeated. But they had never fought humans before, and humans, as they were about to learn, had a very different approach to warfare. They didn't just fight to win. They fought to make sure their enemies could never threaten anyone ever again. The Valyrian retreat was turning into a panic. Ships that had never known defeat were fleeing in all directions, trying to escape an enemy they couldn't understand. But Admiral An Kyung-min wasn't going to let them get away. Pursuit squadrons launch, An ordered from her command ship. She led humanity's fastest vessels, designed specifically to chase down fleeing enemies. The alien ships were fast, but they were built for overwhelming weaker civilizations, not for running away. The human pursuit ships used quantum displacement drives to appear ahead of the fleeing Valerians. One moment the aliens thought they had clear space to escape. The next moment human ships were right in front of them. "How are they getting ahead of us?" demanded Thexvan from his flagship. Half his fleet was gone, and the rest was scattered across the solar system, trying desperately to reach the edge where they could jump to hyperspace. "Unknown. Overlord," his navigation officer replied, voice shaking with terror. "They keep appearing where they shouldn't be able to appear. Our sensors show empty space, then suddenly they're there." Dr. Song Mi-young was studying the aliens from the command center. As a xenopsychologist, she specialized in understanding how alien minds worked. What she was seeing fascinated her. "Admiral Tae-ho," she reported, "the aliens are experiencing something they've never felt before. Pure terror. Look at their communications." On the speakers, alien voices were screaming in their own language. Lieutenant Choi Hana was translating as fast as she could. "They're calling us the impossible enemy," Hana said. "One of them is saying that humans use devil magic instead of proper technology. Another one is asking their gods to save them." "Gods?" Tae-ho asked. "They've been the strongest force in the galaxy for so long that they think of themselves as gods," Song explained. "They've never been beaten, never been scared, never had to face their own mortality. For 10,000 years they've been the hunters. Now for the first time they're the prey." Captain Han Seok-jin was leading boarding operations on disabled alien ships. His teams used the same quantum tunneling technology to appear inside alien vessels. What they found shocked them. "Admiral," Han reported from inside a Valerian cruiser, "these aliens are advanced, but they're mentally rigid. Their whole ship is designed around the idea that they're always the strongest force in any battle. They have no backup plans, no emergency procedures for retreat, no training for fighting an equal opponent." "What do you mean?" Tae-ho asked. "Sir, their weapons are powerful, but they're all designed for attacking weaker enemies. They have no point defense systems because they never expected small fighters to get close to them. Their armor is thick in front but thin on the sides because they never thought anyone would attack them from multiple directions." Han moved through the alien ship with his team. The corridors were built for beings twice as tall as humans, with strange artwork showing Valerian victories over other species. But now those proud conquerors were hiding in their quarters, too scared to fight back. "They're not cowards," Han continued, "but they've never had to adapt under pressure. When their standard tactics failed, they didn't know what to do next." Specialist Ko Yoonbi was working on breaking into the alien computer systems. As humanity's best cyber warfare expert, she was fascinated by Valerian technology. "Their computers are incredibly advanced," she told Commander Yoon Ji-woo. "But they're also incredibly predictable. They've been using the same basic systems for thousands of years without major changes." "Why no changes?" Ji-woo asked. "Because they never needed to change. When you win every battle, you don't innovate. Their technology is powerful, but it's also stagnant. They stopped improving because they thought they were already perfect." Ko broke through another firewall and gasped at what she found. "Commander, you need to see this." "I've accessed their historical databases." The information was terrifying. The Valerians hadn't just conquered 200 worlds. They had been watching those worlds for centuries before attacking, studying them, learning their weaknesses, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "They've been watching Earth for 500 years, Ko reported. They've been waiting for us to develop space travel so they could harvest both our planet and our population. They've been patient predators, and we were supposed to be their next meal." Admiral An's pursuit squadrons were systematically hunting down the fleeing alien ships. The Valerians had split up, thinking that would make them harder to catch. But Dr. Shin's tactical computers were tracking every ship, predicting where they would go and directing human forces to intercept them. "Another group of alien ships destroyed," An reported. "Admiral, they're sending surrender signals, but they're also trying to run." "What are your orders?" Tae-ho thought about the 200 dead worlds, the trillions of beings that the Valerians had murdered, the fact that they had been planning to do the same thing to Earth. "Accept surrenders from ships that stop running," he decided. "But anyone still trying to escape is still an enemy." We can't let them get back to their empire and warn them about our capabilities. The battle was turning into a hunt. Human ships appeared wherever the aliens tried to run. Gravitic weapons created black holes that consumed fleeing vessels. The quantum tunneling drives let human forces appear in multiple places at once, surrounding alien ships that thought they had found safe escape routes. Overlord, the Valerian communications officer called to Thexvan. We're receiving surrender offers from the primitives. Surrender offers? Thexvan was confused. We're the ones who should be offering surrender. Why are they offering to let us surrender? The communications officer's voice was very quiet. Because, Overlord, they're winning. It was true. In 3 hours, the most powerful military force in this sector of the galaxy had been reduced to scattered survivors begging for mercy. Ships that had conquered worlds were now sending desperate messages asking the humans to spare their lives. How many ships do we have left? Thexvan asked. 100, Overlord. Many are damaged. Most are trapped and can't reach hyperspace. Out of 300? Yes, Overlord. Thexvan stared at the tactical display. His mighty fleet, which had never known defeat, was destroyed. The primitives he had planned to exterminate in an afternoon had turned into the most dangerous enemy the Valerian Empire had ever faced. Send a message to the primitive leader, he said finally. What? Should the message say, Overlord? Thexvan closed his eyes. For the first time in his long life, he spoke the words that no Valerian commander had ever spoken. We surrender. Admiral Kim Tae-ho received the surrender message in his command center. Around him, his officers were watching the tactical displays that showed alien ships powering down their weapons and transmitting surrender codes. It's over, Lieutenant Choi Hana said softly. We won, but Tae-ho knew it wasn't really over. This was just the beginning. Word of this battle would spread across the galaxy. The Valerian Empire would know that their mighty fleet had been destroyed by a species they had considered primitive. Some aliens would be terrified of humans. Others would be curious about the species that had done the impossible. And some perhaps would want to be humanity's friends instead of their enemies. The galaxy had just learned that Earth was not a target. It was a fortress defended by beings who could turn theoretical physics into weapons and who never, ever gave up. The age of easy Valerian conquest was over. The age of human space power had just begun. The war was over, but the real work was just beginning. President Roh In-sung stood before the cameras in the Global Defense Council chambers, preparing to address not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. The captured Valerian communication networks would carry his words to thousands of worlds. Commander John Sang-wook was overseeing the alien prisoner facilities. It was strange work, taking care of beings who had come to destroy Earth just hours before. The captured Valerians were in a state of shock that went beyond simple defeat. They're not handling captivity well, John reported to Admiral Tae-ho. It's not that they're being mistreated. We're following all the rules for prisoners of war, but these aliens have never been prisoners before. They don't know how to process what happened to them. Dr. Song Mi-young was studying the psychological effects of defeat on the alien prisoners. What she found was both fascinating and disturbing. Admiral, these beings have never lost a battle in their entire species' history, she explained. Imagine if humans had won every single war for 10,000 years. Imagine if we had never even considered that we might lose. That's what these aliens are dealing with. What does that mean for us? Tae-ho asked. It means their entire worldview has been shattered. They're questioning everything they believed about themselves, about their empire, about their place in the galaxy. Some of them are asking if humans are some kind of gods. Ambassador Kim Young-hee was working with the few Valerian officers who were stable enough to hold conversations. The negotiations were unlike anything in human diplomatic history. They keep asking how we defeated them, Young-hee reported. But when I try to explain our technology, they say it's impossible. When I show them recordings of the battle, they say it must be some kind of trick. They can't accept that they lost to primitives, Song explained. In their minds, there are only two possibilities. Either we're not primitives, which means they were wrong about everything they thought they knew about the galaxy, or we're still primitives, which means primitives can defeat gods, which also means they were wrong about everything. Dr. Lee Sung-ah was leading the team studying captured Valerian technology. What they found was both impressive and disappointing. Their technology is incredibly advanced, she told the Science Council, but it's also incredibly old. Some of these weapons' designs are thousands of years old, unchanged. Why didn't they improve them? Asked one of the scientists. Because they didn't need to. When you win every battle with the same weapons, why develop new ones? When every enemy is weaker than you, why adapt your tactics? They became stagnant because success made them lazy. The implications were staggering. The Valerian Empire controlled thousands of worlds with technology that had stopped evolving millennia ago. They were powerful, but they were not creative. They were advanced, but they were not adaptive. President Rose stepped up to the podium. Around the world, humans were watching. Across the galaxy, aliens were listening. This would be the most important speech in human history. People of Earth and beings of the galaxy, he began. Today, the Valerian Imperial fleet came to our solar system with the intention of destroying our civilization and enslaving our planet. They gave us one day to surrender or face extinction. He paused, looking directly into the camera. They are no longer in a position to make demands. Of the 300 ships that arrived this morning, 200 have been destroyed. The remaining 100 have surrendered and are now in human custody. Across the galaxy, beings who had lived in fear of the Valerians for thousands of years sat in stunned silence. The impossible had happened. The invincible empire had been defeated. The Valerian Empire has controlled this region of space through fear and overwhelming force. Rowe continued. They have destroyed 200 civilizations. They came to Earth expecting to make us number 201. They were wrong. On a dozen worlds that had once been free before Valerian conquest, people were crying. On slave worlds, beings were looking up at the sky and wondering if freedom was possible. In the Valerian capital, emergency councils were trying to understand how their greatest fleet had been destroyed by primitives. Let me be clear about humanity's intentions, Rowe said. We do not seek to build an empire. We do not want to conquer other worlds or enslave other peoples. We are not the Valerians, but we will not be anyone's victims. Any species that comes to Earth seeking conquest will face the same fate as the Valerian Imperial fleet. Our planet is protected by beings who will use every law of physics, every tool of science, and every ounce of human determination to defend our home. However, any species that comes seeking friendship, trade, knowledge, or simply peaceful contact will find willing partners. Humanity is ready to take its place in the galactic community, not as conquerors, but as friends to those who wish friendship, and as a shield for those who need protection. The message was being broadcast on Valerian frequencies to every world in their empire. Former subjects who had given up hope were hearing that their masters could be defeated. Free worlds that had lived in terror were learning that the Valerians were not invincible. To the peoples who have suffered under Valerian rule, we say this: your oppressors are not gods. They can be beaten. They have been beaten. And if you choose to fight for your freedom, you will not fight alone. To the Valerian Empire, we say this: your age of easy conquest is over. Earth is not afraid of you, and we will not allow you to destroy any more worlds. This is humanity announcing our presence to the galaxy. We come in peace, but we are prepared for war. We offer friendship, but we will not tolerate aggression. We are new to this galaxy, but we are not weak. The stars are big enough for all of us to share, but they are not big enough for empires built on murder. When the transmission ended, the galaxy was a different place than it had been that morning. The Valerian Empire, which had seemed eternal and unstoppable, was revealed to be vulnerable. Humanity, which had been unknown beyond their own solar system, was now famous across thousands of worlds. 6 months later, the first alien diplomatic mission arrived at Earth. They were not Valerians, but beings from the Kadari Republic, former Valerian subjects who had declared independence after hearing Rowe's speech. Ambassador Kim Young-hee met them at the orbital station where the Valerian fleet had been destroyed. The alien diplomats were nervous but hopeful. We come seeking knowledge, their leader said through translation devices. We want to learn from the species that did the impossible. We want to understand how you defeated those who seemed unbeatable. We're happy to share what we can, Young-hee replied. But first let us be clear about something. We didn't defeat the Valerians because we're stronger than them. We defeated them because we never stopped learning, never stopped adapting, never stopped believing that there's always a better way to solve any problem. Even the problem of alien invasion? Young-hee smiled. Especially the problem of alien invasion. The Kadari diplomat looked out the window at Earth spinning below. Your world is beautiful. It would have been a tragedy if it had been destroyed. Yes, Young-hee agreed, but it wasn't destroyed. And now neither will yours be. Across the galaxy, the Valerian Empire was crumbling. Dozens of worlds had declared independence. Others were in open rebellion. The fleet that was supposed to have conquered Earth had been their most powerful military force, and its destruction had sent shockwaves through their entire civilization. But humanity was not interested in revenge. They were interested in making sure that no other species would ever again face the choice between surrender and extinction. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders. There was room for everyone, as long as everyone was willing to share. And if they weren't willing to share, well, they had already seen what happened to empires that tried to take what didn't belong to them. The stars belonged to all the beings who could reach them peacefully, but Earth belonged to humanity. And humanity had just proven that some things were worth fighting for with every law of physics and every ounce of determination they possessed. The age of galactic peace hadn't begun yet. But the age of easy conquest was definitely over, and that, Admiral Kim Tae-ho thought as he watched the stars from his command center, was a pretty good start.